Welcome to Fantasy Booking Warfare! Our fantasy booking spectacular returns as 8 gladiators will battle in this single elimination tournament in head-to-head competition. Each episode will feature its own booking scenario, judged brutally and voted on fairly by our esteemed panel of judges as we journey to determine who is the least terrible booker of fantasy wrestling.
I'm Dave Bradshaw, and for the past 15 years I've been a play-by-play commentator in British and European wrestling.
Off the top, missile dropkick! Can he get it? Yes, he can! He's the champion of the world!
I am the master of the half crab, the current reigning undisputed British heavyweight champion, Michael Oku, and who better to tell you how bad things are booked than me.
I'm Nina Samuels, star of The Nina Samuels Show, and here on Wrestle Talk, because of course, Wrestle Talk needs more Nina.
So today, the scenario that we're looking at is the Hurt Business reunion. And first up is Wrestle Talk's Ollie Davis.
We begin in the darkest timeline. The Raw after SummerSlam. The former members of the Hurt Business are scattered across the WWE universe, despondent and directionless. Cedric Alexander has been in NXT for half a year, stuck in mid-card feuds to get other, younger, less talented wrestlers over. Bobby Lashley hasn't been seen since February. Another year of WrestleMania plans scrapped because he's only ever booked as the guy to work with the guy. Shelton Benjamin, after a WWE career totaling 16 years, has been released. And worst of all, Dominic Mysterio is your new United States champion. But MVP knows amongst all this hurt, there's business to be done. The Judgment Day is celebrating Dirty Dom's title win in the ring. He's only had it for one day, but they're already calling him history's definitive US champion. This is Judgment Day's America. MVP's music hits. He comes down with Amos, who squares up to Dom. Dom hides behind Priest, and the two giants go face to face. MVP grabs the mic. He's been in this game for over 2 decades, and he hasn't got long left. He's not as fast as he used to be. His knee is busted, but he's still got enough to beat a punk like Dom. Because Montel Vontavious Porter won't be standing at ringside while Amos kicks your ass. MVP is gonna kick your ass. I'm back, and I'm taking my United States title. Elsewhere in WWE, Bobby Lashley has finally returned from his 6-month hiatus, and he's significantly bulkier than before. After building his whole career on an image of lean, muscular perfection, we are now confronted with the same transformation Thor had post-Infinity War. For the first time ever, we are seeing Fat Lashley. The US title program builds to MVP versus Dom at No Mercy. The match has all the interference. Priest and Amos take each other out through the barricade. MVP knocks out Balor and Dom, but a Ripley low blow lets Mysterio retain. Following defeat, MVP is dejected. He tells Amos backstage that he's lived his life around business. That's all he's ever been about. Being the business's MVP. Managing the business of his old friend's faction. But the happiest he's ever been is when it's been about his family. So why not have both? It's time to start the family business back up. Due to the interference at No Mercy, Adam Pearce had agreed to give MVP a US title rematch against Dom at Payback, and this time, it's no DQ. In preparation for that stipulation, MVP visits an episode of NXT to talk to Cedric. Cedric says he's happy down here. His real-life wife, Big Swole, has recently joined, and besides, he was only ever Bobby's lackey in the Hurt Business. You were too, MVP. That's why you turned on him. MVP takes this all in and replies, yeah, families fight. They fall out. But at the end of the day, they're always family. Payback. That's what I'm asking. Payback. The next week, MVP and Amos track down Shelton Benjamin, coaching amateur wrestling at a local high school. Shelton doesn't want to talk. He's left pro wrestling behind, and MVP left him with nothing. The Hurt Business wasn't this magical time you remember it as. We were together for what, 3 months properly? We were never a family. MVP takes it all in and replies, families don't get to choose each other, Shelton, and they always have each other's backs. payback. Meanwhile, Lashley has been wrestling low-effort match after low-effort match, beating mediocre enhancement talent. He's more concerned with partying and drinking and finally enjoying those sweet, sweet carbs than challenging himself these days. Which is why whenever his phone lights up in backstage segments with MVP's calls, he slides the reject button. MVP eventually confronts Lashley in his dressing room, celebrating his latest meaningless win. "What happened to you, Bobby?" MVP asks. "This business happened to me," Lashley replies between sips of champagne. "2 years ago, I was WWE champion. I was on top. I put everything into this business and it took it from me and never once said thank you. 2 manias in a row I've missed, but I've decided to be thankful for that because I finally understand it all. Whatever you do, no matter how hard you work here, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do the bare minimum and get paid. That's real business." MVP looks at him. He looks at Bobby's expensive suit and glass of champagne and hangers on and says, "You don't understand shit. Everyone around here says they can't see the once almighty Bobby Lashley because he's hidden beneath layers of fat. But I know different. You're not covered in layers of fat. I can smell it from here. You're covered in layers of fear. Together, we're stronger. Payback, Bobby. Let's get it." At Payback, the no DQ allowed interference starts right away. Finn and Priest immediately take out Amos, and Rhea and Dom lay out MVP. They could make the pin, but they toy with their prey. They work MVP over when? Who's that in the crowd? It's Shelton Benjamin. But he's not signed. Dom is screaming at him. "You can't be here. You were released. You were released!" When Cedric Alexander knocks Dom out with a forearm to the back of the head. Shelton and Cedric help MVP and Amos up. It's now 4-on-4. A mass brawl breaks out. But JD McDonough takes out Alexander and Benjamin with a steel chair. It was a trap. The Judgment Day have a new member. They beat down MVP, Shelton, Amos, and Cedric. Outnumbered, MVP looks up the ramp for an almighty that never answers his prayers. Dominic retains again. On the next episode of Raw, Lashley beats another no-name jobber. He goes backstage to party with fast women and fast food. Suddenly, someone stops the music. It's MVP. Bobby sends the ladies away. He's chomping on a burger. MVP limps to the leather sofa, his knee increasingly battered, and sits next to Lashley to make a confession. "I've been going for the US title for the wrong reasons," he tells Bobby. "I wanted one last championship run. Not anymore. I don't want one last title win. I want one last run with the people who matter most to me. If you rejoin the Hurt Business, I'll make sure you win the United States Championship, not me. I'll do anything to make that happen. You have my word." MVP presses play on the music as he leaves. The women re-enter dancing around Bobby, but his mind is now elsewhere. Weeks later, the Judgment Day have now rechristened Dominic as MVP Dom, Mysterio valuable player. They're interrupted by the real MVP, flanked by Shelton, Cedric, and Amos. MVP wants one last shot at the United States title. Dominic replies, "This is getting sad now. And anyway, what's to stop MVP coming out next month and saying that's the last time, or the month after that, or the month after that?" MVP cuts him off. "This will be the last time because I'm putting my career on the line." MVP turns to the back, no longer addressing Dom. "You hear that?" he shouts. "That's how much the Hurt Business means to me." Judgment Day jump MVP, Shelton, Cedric, and Amos. They beat them down. They're about to destroy MVP's deteriorated knee when Bobby Lashley's music hits. Initially, Judgment Day cower. They remember Lashley as the Almighty, a man made of chiseled marble. But when Bobby enters the arena, they remember how out of shape he is. His suit jacket stretches at the seams. He's sweating even more than he used to. Dominic points and laughs as Lashley struggles to enter the ring. Dominic gets the mic. "If this is the Hurt Business," he snorts, "Judgment Day will take you all on to end MVP's career." Lashley nods. He looks down at MVP. He takes off his blazer, ready to fight. Then he unbuttons his shirt. Then he tears away at his own flesh, Judgment Day are confused until Bobby rips off his clothes to reveal the padding beneath them. He rips those off too to reveal the lean, muscular, godlike body beneath. The old Bobby Lashley is back. Dom's face drops and Lashley spears McDonough while the rest of Judgment Day scamper. Shelton and Cedric help MVP to his feet. Amos hands him the mic Dom dropped, into which Montel Vontavious Porter shouts, Hurt Business versus Judgment Day. Winning pin gets the United States title at Survivor Series in War Games. In the following weeks, Bobby tells MVP he's not in this for the family. He's in it for the business. And that business is him becoming the US champion like MVP promised. You can understand that, can't you? That's what MVP always taught him anyway. It's just business. Lashley never hangs out with the Hurt Business in those building segments. He continues to have his separate squash matches, but against more credible opponents. MVP, Shelton, Cedric, Amos, and Big Swole, who's joined them on the main roster meanwhile, work as a team. The final chapter is upon us. The Hurt Business of MVP, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and Cedric Alexander versus the Judgment Days, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough in War Games. Cedric enters first with Finn, then it's Priest followed by Shelton, then it's McDonough, then MVP. The final entrant for Judgment Day is Dirty Dom, but Rhea Ripley walks in with him. They chain the door shut. Big Swole is trying to rip the cage door open to help her husband. Now it's Lashley's time to enter as the final member. He's looking for bolt cutters, but they can't find any. In the cage, Judgment Day are destroying the Hurt Business. MVP's face is dripping with blood. Ripley is choking Cedric with a chain as Swole screams at her from the outside. Lashley looks at Amos. Amos looks at him. They have an understanding and rip the cage door together from its hinges. The Judgment Day are frozen in horror. Swole runs in and takes out Ripley immediately, and Lashley spears everyone else. It's the first ever intergender War Games. With Balor, Priest, Ripley, and McDonough incapacitated, MVP directs all the Hurt Business, hitting their finishers on Dominic. Cedric hits a lumbar check, into Shelton's pay dirt, into Swole's dirty dancing, into Lashley's hurt lock. The whole team are cheering Lashley on when he stops. Instead, he shoves Dom's lifeless body to the canvas by MVP's feet. MVP looks at Lashley. He looks at Cedric and Shelton and Swole and Amos. They nod. He looks like he's going to cry, but instead, he mouths, "Thank you." He hits a balling elbow with the whole crowd chanting along, and a playmaker to win the United States Championship. The match ends as the Hurt Business, led by Lashley, parade him around on their shoulders. And the next night on Raw, MVP retires as champion.
Wow.
Wow.
Quite emotional.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
I'm also quite confused.
They're assuming that Bobby Lashley has the ability to get fat and out of shape.
Well, so this is something that Bobby Lashley himself said he can do it.
But then how is that working when he takes off the jacket and
Rips
there's
his flesh
padding?
Well, so he doesn't get out of shape, right? He's actually just wearing padding the whole time.
But then
I'm
he would have had
confused.
to wrestle in a full bodysuit for the entire time that he's meant to be out of shape.
I'm sure the WWE can.
I don't know if any makeup team in the world has the skills to get some kind of body makeup on that will withstand Bobby Lashley's sweat.
Is it a fat suit? Is he actually getting fat? Have you considered the
Yes.
perspiration?
Is that actually physically possible? Or will he die? Maybe Ollie
I mean, that
Davis
was
has
for a
booked
big
an
spanner.
angle where talent dies.
War Games between Judgment Day and Hurt Business. I just
Yeah.
want to see that match.
That works.
The ending's incredible. I mean, I think there's some questions, but the whole finding Shelton Benjamin in a high school, it's a bit like, you know, like when Ron
I love
Burgundy-
that. Yeah, that's what I love. I
Yeah.
love, as soon as that, I love the visual of, like, you know, sometimes you don't, you think you don't see that enough. I could just see him just with a whistle. Just like coaching.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's
You know
like,
that being
those days-
Anchorman when Ron Burgundy's lost his job and he's drinking milk in
That's
the
it,
daytime?
that's it.
That's how I'm imagining
Those
this.
days are behind me.
Wrestling needs more
Yeah.
Anchorman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm iffy about after all of this, he just retires. So like all this work to just be like, all right, the belt's gone now. The Hurt Business is back. See ya. The Playmaker is the worst finisher in history of wrestling.
Ooh, shade,
So
shade.
Wow.
So to this isn't on MVP. the ball and elbow, the crowd are going to lose their mind. They're like, yeah, the crowd's standing up. They go, ball in, boom, 1, 2, 3. Don't pick him up and do the thing with the
Because he
thing.
has just taken like 4 other finishes
Exactly,
at that
it's
point
good.
as well,
Ball
right?
in, boom, 1, 2, 3. Crowd lose it. That's it.
The whole section was skated over there with dissension in the hurt business. Dissension should be shown with that, and how does that play into the dynamic? I feel like there's a missing chunk of the story
There's
there.
some layers that they could have
Yes.
been added.
Yeah.
Almost was just kind of there as someone who just got beaten up like everyone, but he's a giant. Almost should have joined the Judgment Day, being like, oh, you're looking for your family, I'm not good enough? Well, screw it then. I'm joining these guys. Being
Yeah.
like, you want to find your old family? Well, then screw you. And that's an even bigger challenge to overcome.
So we got lots of points,
Yes.
lots of questions, lots of things to clarify, and it'd be very interesting to compare to what Sat has done.
Hi, I'm Sat Niangi, hailing from partsFUNknown. I've always wanted to say that. So here is how I would book a group that is near and dear to my heart. The Hurt Business Reunion. It's week 1. MVP successfully persuades Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander to mend their differences and reunite as a team. In the same episode of Raw, MVP reminds Bobby Lashley about his instrumental role in having him reinstated after a brief suspension. MVP's intention is to make amends and rectify their past issues, but Bobby Lashley still carries the memory of MVP's previous betrayal when he sided with Omos. There's significant bad blood between them that prevents Lashley from considering a reunion with MVP. On next week's episode of Monday Night Raw, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin join forces to face Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis. A timely distraction by MVP allows Cedric Alexander to secure the victory by pinning Chad Gable. Cedric and Shelton celebrate alongside MVP. Later on the show, Bobby Lashley prepares for his United States Championship #1 contender match, a triple threat match against Bronson Reed and AJ Styles. As MVP enters Lashley's locker room, he asks if Lashley saw Cedric and Shelton's victory earlier. Lashley, focused on his upcoming match, explains that he didn't watch due to his preparation. He emphasizes his need for concentration, politely asking MVP to leave him be. MVP respects Lashley's request, expressing his support for Lashley's victory over Austin Theory and a triumphant return as WWE United States Champion. Lashley nods and walks off while MVP has a slight smile and a glimmer of hope. Main event of Raw. The main event features the aforementioned triple threat match, Bobby Lashley versus AJ Styles versus Bronson Reed. US champion Austin Theory provides guest commentary, scouting his potential competition. As the match progresses, Lashley delivers an almighty spine buster, sending Bronson Reed through the announce table. Lashley re-enters the ring, poised to spear AJ Styles. However, Austin Theory intervenes by grabbing Lashley's leg. This momentary distraction allows AJ Styles to execute the dreaded schoolboy roll-up, resulting in a close 2 count. Amidst this, MVP and Omos appear at ringside, their intentions unclear. Are they here to assist or hinder Lashley? The uncertainty dissipates when Omos delivers a slightly awkward yet impactful big boot to Bronson Reed, followed by a similar move to Austin Theory. As the audience process this unexpected turn, AJ Styles regains his composure and positions himself for a phenomenal forearm. MVP urges caution and Lashley responds swiftly, countering Styles' move with a powerful spear. The subsequent cover leads to Lashley's victory. MVP and Omos applaud Lashley's accomplishment, while Theory realizes his impending title clash with Lashley. The segment closes on this note of intrigue. Week 3 is another episode of Monday Night Raw, and we have reached that point where a mid-card feud needs a talk show segment. The Miz hosts an episode of Miz TV with Bobby Lashley as the guest. The Miz proceeds to extend his congratulations to Bobby Lashley for emerging victorious in the triple threat match. However, he subtly suggests that perhaps he should be congratulating MVP and Omos instead, as their involvement played a pivotal role in Bobby's triumph. This comment triggers a reaction from Bobby, who counters the Miz's implication by stating he wasn't reliant on MVP and Omos during the match. He states that he successfully defeated AJ Styles and Bronson Reed without their assistance, and makes it clear that he doesn't need them when he faces Austin Theory. The Miz's demeanor shifts to one of trepidation as Lashley advances, ready for a confrontation. The arena reverberates with A-Town, down, signifying Austin Theory's entrance. Theory criticizes Lashley for needing an entourage and being incapable of fighting his own battles. Lashley invites Austin into the ring for an almighty beatdown. Just as Theory prepares to respond, Bronson Reed's theme music hits and he makes his way to the ring. Reed echoes Theory's sentiments, declaring that Lashley relies on backup. Lashley invites both Reed and Theory to an ass whooping. As he concludes, The Miz seizes the opportunity to ambush Lashley from behind, initiating a brawl. The chaotic scene is interrupted by the arrival of Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, who even the odds. Their involvement sets off a flurry of action that ends with the former Hurt Business cohorts standing tall. Adam Pearce intervenes, announcing a 6-man tag match involving all parties. The segment transitions into a commercial break. Upon returning from the break, we're in the midst of the 6-man tag match, where in the end, Bobby Lashley executes his devastating spear on The Miz, securing victory for his team. After the match, Austin Theory goes to attack Lashley from behind with the US title, but almost intervene and Lashley hits Theory with a spear and raises the United States title up above his head, signaling his intent to claim the title. He also embraces Shelton and Cedric. The segment concludes with Lashley's nod to Omos and MVP's approving presence on the ramp. We're slowly inching closer to the reunion. Week 4. It's the Raw before Elimination Chamber in Montreal, with the highly anticipated showdown between Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory headlining the event. Before the match, we have a quick backstage interview where Kayla Braxton asks Bobby Lashley if he's ready for tonight's main event. And Lashley says he's more than ready. He's a former United States champion and a former WWE champion. Lashley states he's beaten every obstacle set in front of him, including Brock Lesnar. So nothing can stop him from reclaiming his title. MVP interrupts the interview and he respectfully asks to speak to Bobby alone. P lets Lashley know that he spoke with Adam Pearce in order to prevent Austin Theory from weaseling out of the match with a DQ or count-out finish. It's now a no DQ match. Bobby expresses his gratitude to MVP for his actions, but says that he doesn't need any additional help going forward. So he doesn't want to see him, Shelton, Cedric or Omos out there for his match. MVP says he'll do as the Almighty says, but he'll see him after the show for celebratory drinks and they part ways amicably. As the main event unfolds, Bobby Lashley squares off against Austin Theory in a no disqualification match. An intense battle ensues. Midway through the match, Lashley is poised to secure victory with the spear, only to be interrupted by Bronson Reed and The Miz. Their unexpected intrusion disrupts the momentum and sparks a chaotic scene. However, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin rush to the ring, sparking a brawl that spills into the backstage area, leaving Theory and Lashley to finish the match. Lashley hits the spear on Austin Theory, and then we get 1, 2, someone pulls Bobby's leg and drags him out of the ring. And the culprit is none other than Brock Lesnar, who proceeds to rip off the padding on the floor and F5s Bobby Lashley on the exposed concrete and throwing him back into the ring. Austin Theory tries to buddy up to Lesnar, but Brock looks at Theory in disgust and F5s him onto Lashley in a pinning position. Theory pins Lashley thanks to the Beast, who smiles. After the match, Brock Lesnar gives Bobby a second F5, and after deafening chants of "one more time, one more time, one more time," Lesnar obliges and hits Lashley with a third F5. Raw after Elimination Chamber, Bobby Lashley takes center stage. His demand for a confrontation with Brock Lesnar is met with Lesnar's distinct entrance music as Lesnar strides towards the ring. The anticipation is palpable. However, before Lesnar can engage with Lashley, he is ambushed by Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Lesnar initially resists their attack, but Omos intervenes with a powerful chokehold that incapacitates Lesnar. Omos subsequently hurls Lesnar into a steel ring post, further weakening him. Lashley seizes the moment, instructing Omos to bring Lesnar into the ring. Omos obliges, hoisting Lesnar onto his shoulder and placing him in the center of the ring. With Lesnar prone, Lashley initiates an unrelenting onslaught, asserting his dominance over the Beast incarnate. As MVP, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander join the beatdown, a united front prevents any interference from officials or referees. The culmination of the assault sees Lashley execute his spear on Lesnar and Omos assist in lifting Lesnar, positioning him for Lashley's Hurt Lock submission. Lesnar passes out. All of the men celebrate. All of the men celebrate and raise raise their hands, and Lashley is the last to join, seemingly confirming that the Hurt Business was indeed back in business. It's the Raw after. It's the reunion. MVP hosts the VIP lounge and his guests are the newly reformed Hurt Business, suited and booted. Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, the Nigerian giant Omos, and the almighty Bobby Lashley. They collectively walk out to the Hurt Business music. Each man get their time on the mic to gloat about destroying Brock Lesnar and how no one can stop them. Bobby then takes the mic and says he's sick of being a nice guy and being screwed over. First, he was suspended, and then Brock cost him the US title. He knew that he needed to do things differently, and he thanks MVP for reminding him of who he truly was. Almighty. Bobby approaches Omos and buries the hatchet. MVP gets on the mic and says, this time, business will be booming for a long time. The episode reaches its climax with a showdown between the Hurt Business and the returning AJ Styles, flanked by the OC, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, accompanied by Michin. The match ends in a no contest as both teams brawl all around the ring, with the Hurt Business getting the upper hand, with Omos being the deciding factor. In the build-up to WrestleMania, the Hurt Business will continue in their rivalries against the OC and Brock Lesnar. The highly anticipated Lesnar vs Lashley match is set to culminate at WrestleMania. Meanwhile, the OC is slated to take on Omos, Shelton and Cedric in a 6-man tag encounter at Mania. Following this, the eagerly awaited showdown between the Hurt Business and the Bloodline will come to fruition in an explosive 8-man tag bout at Money in the Bank. So there you have it. That's how I'll book the Hurt Business reunion. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you like me reading fantasy booking, let Ollie know. Me and Kendo are just gonna go and, hang out somewhere else because it's so hot in here. Thank you so much. Saturday, forever, and the lights go black. Bye.
Is anyone else really distracted by him constantly cradling the kendo head?
I mean, I enjoy it, having a prop for the delivery,
It's like a mascot.
I'm
like a
good
really
for it.
freaky mascot,
Very,
right?
very
Because
different.
Ollie's booked it as this epic sweeping tale that unfolds over several months. It feels like less ambitious, if that's not too harsh of a word, but more plausible.
It's a much easier booking scenario for Bobby Lashley.
I was very confused on who was a babyface, who was a heel. I think it's something that the fans are clamoring for so much
Yeah.
that they'll be cheered.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be difficult booking them in that scenario.
When Lesnar hits the F5 on Lashley, they're cheering for Lesnar
Yes.
to
To do one
do
more time,
another
right?
one.
It's
We
like he's
all
even-
love seeing Brock Lesnar obliterate anyone.
yeah.
So yes.
Even in Sat's fantasy booking, the crowd aren't doing what he wants them to do. Like, amazing.
I respect
Right?
the realism of they're gonna do it one more time. The Brock will just do it.
You see people going back and forth between being heels and faces now and again, and you've got to think they're going up against the Bloodline.
Well, what happens there?
Yes.
In the early part of this, there is dissension between the members, so that part is
that part is
better.
ticked off, yeah.
very different to Ollie's, which has happened over a very long period of time. Has this one gone too far the other way? Is it not let it breathe enough?
There's such polar opposite booking, and there's definitely questions with each of them.
I'm gonna allow them to defend their art.
Should we bring them in?
Yes.
And we can
Let's.
interrogate them a little bit on their conflicting plans.
Oh,
I'm ready.
Do you want to bring them in? Well, thank you for joining us, gentlemen. And first thing is nice of you to join us in person, Sat. Obviously, you're taking this incredibly seriously.
We should consider that, really.
We should
shouldn't
consider
That factors in. I'm gonna write that down.
We should consider that. We'll park that for a minute because the first question I think the three of us have is more of a safety concern.
Ollie, do you want to try and kill Bobby Lashley?
What was in there that would kill Bobby
Well,
Lashley?
you're talking about an angle where he's gonna be gaining loads of weight and be
Yes.
fat, and then out of nowhere, he's cut it all.
like Christian Bale in a role?
People die from doing that.
Do you not know the dangers of yo-yo dieting?
Maybe this isn't shoot weight.
Oh,
it's
it's-
working weight.
Well, yeah.
So it's always a fat suit.
Is he wrestling in a full bodysuit?
If that's what is required to get me over the line in the safety concerns.
But then we said as well, we need to think about the dehydration concerns.
Well, short matches.
Is he just pretending to be fat, having little unimportant matches down the card when the crowd are clamoring for more on Twitter? Sorry, X.
Well, he'll be having the low effort matches regardless till SummerSlam in the storyline, and then when he comes back, he cannot be in shape, but he can be working, getting in shape. He's sort of topping up the bits of his body with prosthetics.
Do you know the work involved with this?
I thought this was going to be mostly on the story.
Well, we haven't
Yeah,
got
we
the
just
second
had
book.
but we need to know what. Yeah.
Okay, no, we liked the long delay of them getting back together, but there were a few points that were skated over. I didn't really hear you talk about much dissension between the Hurt Business for that, so it takes them this long to get back together, and then all of a sudden they're just all lovey-dovey. No, you win the championship. No, you win the championship.
Bobby Lashley said he was all about business. He decides, no, MVP, you put your career on the line, I'll give you this to go out on.
Sounds like you're just trying to do a swerve, bro. You just want to do a swerve?
But a nice
And
swerve.
it's good booking, just a swerve.
And
Go ahead.
Friendship wins.
And the other note on that, so War Games, the team can choose who enters. You put Bobby Lashley last.
So at this point in the story, Bobby just wants to win the United States title. MVP, Shelton and Cedric will do all the hard work.
And they're happy to do that.
Yeah, because they know deep down Bobby will help him in the end.
I feel like you're struggling
Yeah,
slightly
no, just
here.
a little bit.
But this also.
I'm enjoying the sweat that his face has
That's
got all
all right.
red.
Now I know how Bobby Lashley feels.
Yeah, we just have one last question about Michael, it was your question about the finish specifically.
Oh my god. This chase for months, a month-long chase of becoming United States Champion for MVP, and he just retires the next day.
It's lovely, yeah, I agree.
No,
It's beautiful.
Is that what you think I'm going to? No, I think that kind of diminishes the story that you created. The belt, it's gone. Maybe I'll be a manager. Maybe I'm gone. Then the second thing, which is more important than that, winning with the playmaker. War Games. Winning with the crowd standing ovation. They do the ballin'.
Yeah.
Bam. 1, 2, 3. No. You're like,
You're
let's
right.
pick them up. Let's do the hook. Let's do the playmaker.
I agree there.
Okay. Well.
Okay, I think we've heard all we need to.
You didn't say that, did you?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, I think we've heard more than we need.
Yeah, we got a lot.
This is horrible. I thought
Yeah.
you were going to be much nicer. Didn't I
right.
get 3 Simon Cowells?
I love the business, so that's where you've gone wrong.
All right, Sat.
Can I see it? Because I can't see.
Oh, so
I don't
he's-
see my- Okay,
Hi, Sat.
That's me.
I'm ready. Let's see it. Let's go.
Have you rushed this?
No, I haven't watched it. So, can you hear me? Do I sound
Yeah,
like
we can hear you. I just don't know if I'm believing what I'm hearing. That's all. If this is an excuse.
What? I didn't rush this, guys. It took me a few days to get this done. I feel like you don't have to take months to draw out a reunion. You can get done over one pay-per-view cycle before Vince McMahon comes back and messes everything up and pretends nothing ever happened.
One of the kind of most beloved factions in recent history. A lot of people are obviously clamoring for its return, but you're making them heels.
I feel like the purpose is so bad as tweeners. That's what they were. Listen, their biggest moment was retribution. Another heel. They were heels at the time, right? When they're not positioned more as tweeners, don't just get mad and pretend
The
you don't
biggest
watch
moment was
wrestling
against
yourself.
retribution. Don't talk about retribution and tweeners.
Yeah,
Miss me with that
retribution.
retribution. Hitting a brick through a broken bit of glass. No, come on.
Let's not sugarcoat this.
We're talking about a heel feud. As someone who has done a heel feud during the pandemic with no fans, it can kind of work when there's no fans there. I don't know if that would work as well now, coming into, that with all the crowds. Let's just say the crowds are going to be so clamoring for the Hurt Business. Does any wrestler ever like being told they're going to be a tweener?
I've known Michael Oku for several years, Sat, and that's the most disgusted I've ever heard him saying the word tweener repeatedly.
I'm just sitting there back. You asked me the question, I'll give you
Coming
the
into
answer.
WrestleMania as a tweener. Oh
Yeah.
man, I can't wait to be a big old tweener at WrestleMania.
This is our tweener right now. What's going on, guys?
I did say I was very happy that the story involved Bobby Lashley going into WrestleMania in a big marquee match, because I think that's something that has been missing for too long. So we can give some credit there. I like the match. It's just the story going into it. I'd love if we're clearly behind one person.
Emotions are running high, but I think we've got a good summary of where everyone is on this. It's now time for each of you two to issue a final statement. Ollie, we're going to start with you. If you could keep it to well under a minute, because we have fairly short attention spans. Off you go.
My booking should win, although Sats was fantastic. I think I told a more emotional story. It feels like you're just drawing something at that
all right.
point.
No, you keep
But
talking.
it achieves multiple things. It rejuvenates Cedric Alexander. It brings Big Swole into the main roster. Sheldon Benjamin is refreshed as well. MVP gets a retirement storyline in all of this. He gets sent off, winning the belt at the end, and Bobby Lashley goes to the very depths of his character and then comes back rebuilt, and they're all together. Plus the sort of narrative threads of business versus family, and then both entwining together at the end, and the thank you when Bobby said the business never said thank you. Nice little details there, I think. Nice little bits. Crap.
Great. What I really liked about that statement was its strong ending. Didn't just tail off.
Yeah.
It was really
You're
good.
an eloquent talker when the
Yeah.
pressure isn't on.
Yeah. You should talk for a living.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
I read scripts for a living.
Oh yeah. Right.
Couldn't tell.
Sat. Let's hear it.
I love that business. My booking was based on realism. What more can I say? I didn't add any extracurricular activities. I went for a more realistic approach to how to put them back together. In terms of what to do next, I left it out to everyone else's imaginations. I love that business. I miss them. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
At this point, I think we've heard more than enough.
More than enough.
So if you two can just sit in silence for a moment and think about what you've done, and each of us will write who we think should advance through to the semi-finals of Fantasy Booking Warfare. The judging panel have reached their decision. First up, Michael Oku.
I've decided to choose the booker that is akin to my tastes, is akin to what I feel is more logical, more emotional, just tells the best story. I choose Ollie.
I want you both to know this has been tough. Because you're not supposed to laugh. This has been tough because I admire both of your different types of creativity in your own way. Both of these have potential, both are problematic. In one case, there's a danger someone might die. However, one does have a more epic, sweeping scale than the other. And for that reason, despite its problems, Ollie.
And that leads me down to the deciding vote. Both have things that confuse me, but in the end, I went for the one that had the most emotion. Ollie.
Sweet.
And with that, that is decided. It is a clean sweep. Ollie Davis, congratulations. You're going through to the semi-finals. Sat, do you have any words?
How much did Ollie pay you guys for this result? This is a fix. I should have won. This is complete BS. But you know what? I'll take you on the chin. Congratulations, Ollie. The better one this time. But I'll be back again next time.
Ollie, you won.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Sat was also great. He's so lovely over there. And he's Thunderdome, put a lot of effort in, even though there are flaws and potential health and safety risks.
You are in the semi-finals, but I think we would all agree you are going to need to seriously up your game.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I was
There's
gonna
definitely
say.
work to be done.
I'll do a
want to
risk
make a
assessment for
Yeah,
booking
yeah.
next time.
Congratulations, Ollie, you're in the semi-finals.
And so, Ollie Davis eliminates Sat and moves on to the semi-final. Who will join him? Tune in next week for another episode of Fantasy Booking Warfare.
Oh, wow, I'm amazed they didn't overbook that. They overbook everything. Okay, great. Okay, well, they probably overbooked the match, but by all means, I'm sure.
Boy, did they. Paul Bear shined a f***ing flashlight in the Undertaker's face. He'd only come back a week earlier, and then he turned on him.